Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I wanted to share curious parallel stories in this week's Parsha and last week's Parsha. We have two groups of people who each come to Moshe looking to get land. Last week we have the Matot-Masei, the daughters of Matot-Masei, who come to Moshe and say, listen, our father died in the desert, and we didn't get an opportunity. We want to be able to get land in the land of Israel. And just because he died, does that mean we shouldn't be able to continue on the family line, the nachala, the inheritance of our father? And in a similar mode, although a different kind of ask, the Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain approach Moshe, the children of Gad and Ruvain, their two tribes, approach Moshe and say, listen, this land east of the Jordan, this land that we've just conquered, this land where we've just come to take possession of as a collective, we have lots of sheep, we're strong, we think we want to actually just stay right here. We know that land of Canaan is, right on the other side of this river, but this is going to be really good for our families. Look, we have all of this livestock, we have these needs, and we think that if we stay here, this is going to be what's best for our families. And I think it's powerful to see kind of two groups advocating for themselves. They say, listen, we know there's a plan, but we have other kinds of needs that we're looking to take into account. And of course, it's important for us to note the large distinction between these two types of advocacy, these two types of asking for one's needs, which is something that I think in our community, in our families, we really do encourage people to speak up and say, hey, this is what's going on for me. These are the things that I need. This is the way that I would like to be accommodated in order to care for me. The first distinction that I want to draw is that the Matot-Masei are coming from a position of weakness. They're coming from a place that says, we don't have what we need. There's a family property that is being taken away from us in some level, and we want to be able to inherit it. We want to be able to take that for ourselves, for our own families, something that we can then represent our family line and have this land. But the Bnei Gad, Bnei Ruvain, they were going to be getting all kinds of property in the land of Israel, and they had a lot. The Torah describes that they had lots of livestock, and so they're asking to have their needs met is about a way of ensuring and a way of accommodating their great power, not about accommodating or working with their great weakness. And I think this is a really us to kind of sit in for a moment to think about is when are the needs that we're accommodating the needs of people in great power, in positions of feeling settled, in positions of wealth, in positions of strength. And that's not to say they don't have needs or that they shouldn't be accommodated. But when are we looking at needs from a posture of power? And when are we looking at the needs of those in a posture or position of weakness, in a position of not having everything that they need in order to make their lives work, and in some cases actually having had things taken away from them? And I think there's a really powerful distinction here between these two stories. And I just want to share one or two more things about this. Moshe's response to Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain is, okay, well, what about the rest of your families? What about the other tribes? What about our mission to go conquer Eretz Canaan? And so the agreement they come to is that, okay, Bnei Gad, Bnei Ruvain will, of course, be a part of that mission. They'll be a part of that enterprise of making sure that everybody else can have a place to live as well. And so they actually have to utilize this strength and their resources and their wealth in service of the greater collective in order for them to be accommodated to be given this other land. And I think that's an interesting distinction that, yes, we're willing to accommodate that need, but there has to be something that gives back, that contributes, that still allows you to play your role for the larger group. And I want to say one more thing about them is that I've always wondered, like, well, what was the original plan, right? They've conquered these areas on the other side of the Jordan River, and the Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, like, what was the original? Had they not come to ask Moshe, what would have happened to that land? And I saw in the Nitziv today, they says, well, that land would have just become split up like everything else. It's not like this land would have laid fallow, or that no one would have become residents there or used it. No, that land would have become part of the tribe would have had sections in the land of Israel, and also additional sections on the other side of the Jordan River, maybe contiguous, maybe not contiguous. And so when Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain say, we want this all for ourselves, and we're willing to forego our land in Eretz Canaan, there's a way in saying that, well, who gets to make that decision? Who gets to decide if this is what's best for the collective group? And I'll leave that one as an open question, but I think that's a powerful idea to think about, this distinction between when we're accommodating needs or wants or desires of various groups of people, what kind of powers are they bringing to the table? In what ways have they been slighted? In what ways do they have access or not have access when they make these heroic acts of asking for their needs to be met? And second, when we are accommodating people's needs, when we are working together as a collective to figure out how to make sure that everybody has what they want or what they need, how are those in a position of power or wealth or strength? In what ways can they contribute back to the collective? In what ways can they ensure that they can utilize the gifts that they have in order to protect and ensure and give to everyone else? Anyway, those are some thoughts about this parsha as we head into Shabbat. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom and sending lots of love.